Okay, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully I'm sounding all right because we got a big one for you. We got an emergency fifth topic. So welcome back to the weekly recap, episode 39, which is most likely 38 because I think I skipped 35 when I was creating all these damn things. So welcome back to the weekly recap. And with me, I got the awesome Kate and Ambassador. How you doing, both of you?
Hello, hello.
I just turned 46 and I feel wonderful.
Oh, wow. He's a senior citizen.
Happy Beatles Day!
Yes. Beetlejuice, man. Mazel tov. So we got some, or aside from the main urgent news, we got rest in peace James Earl Jones, Disney sued by Peter Cushing's friend, Venom 3 trailer thoughts, and the Tolkien fandom needing a wake-up call. And I love how the person on Twitter, they thought that they had me dead to rights. They thought that they could block me and shit. And it's like, oh, you are so adorable. But guess what? I have resources. Not going to mention what they are, but I got resources. So yeah. So we're going to get started with the first one, folks. This is kind of breaking as of a few hours ago. There was another fucking assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, folks, not an hour after this man was shot at again, the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, I call him Haktua Jeffries, but Hakeem Jeffries, decides to post this insane, "We must stop the MAGA Republicans," and not even an hour after the assassination attempt. And they're saying we need to tone down our rhetoric. The right side needs to tone down their rhetoric. It's the left-leaning politicians that have literally been calling Trump Hitler for years. It's the left-leaning Democrats who have gone on the news and said that they want to punch him in the face, that he should be shot. Oh, yes, folks. There's clips out there in the news. If you honestly want to look them up, go right ahead. I'm not going to play them on here. Say what?
Can I add on to that?
Go ahead.
His followers and MAGA supporters and conservatives in general, and if you watch Matt Walsh's new movie, Am I Racist? Republicans are also called Nazis, degenerates, a threat to democracy. So it went from just Trump, and it's been for his entire, since 2016 when he announced, basically, until the present. So all we've heard is he's a Nazi. Yeah, all we've heard is he's a Nazi, he's a Nazi, he's a Nazi, he's a threat to democracy, he's a degenerate. What did you think was going to happen?
Sure. I mean, they are literally the party of political violence, folks. They're saying that, oh, January 6th this, January 6th that. How many insurrections have the Democrats put or infiltrated the Capitol building? Right, that's right. Rashida Tlaib incited an insurrection last year where I think something like 300 people were arrested for political violence. There was one of them there was people holding up signs that said Global Intifada, which, by the way, Intifada means a jihad. So yeah. Tell me again how they're not the party of violence. Oh, right. Back in 2018, there was the insurrection at the Capitol to try to stop Judge Kavanaugh from being put on SCOTUS. So, yeah, they were literally beating on the doors to that chamber to stop his swearing in, or to stop him from getting sworn in and stuff. So don't ever say anything about January 6th, because if January 6th was a right-wing insurrection, well, one, it would have been successful. Two, it would have been armed. And three, it wouldn't have been a White House, or it wouldn't have been a Capitol building tour like it was until Antifa got in there and started acting like a bunch of fucking monkeys. So, yeah, I don't want to hear anything about January 6th, especially when left-wing rhetoric has consistently led to now 2 assassination attempts on a former president who is running currently for president. Thoughts from the panel? Go.
Kate, do you want to go first?
Go ahead, Ambassador.
Well, I think we all knew that this was going to happen eventually. Am I necessarily surprised? No. Am I surprised it was done where it was done? A little. But then again, if you think about it, trying to hit him at a golf course, probably a little bit easier than trying to hit him at a rally where the Secret Service actually is at. I mean, granted, yeah, the Secret Service would have a presence at wherever he is at, but it'll probably be a little more widespread than, say, at a rally. So this is going to be nothing but another fundraising extravaganza for him. It's going to, I would wager, push a lot more people to think, maybe there's something to what he's saying about the Democrats and the left. And I don't think I have lived, I mean, I'm officially been alive for 46 years now. I don't think I've ever heard of a sitting or a former president having not 1 but 2 assassination attempts carried out against them. So that tells you just exactly how politically polarized and how, for lack of a better term, deranged people are starting to become, or have become.
Yeah.
And I love this. I love how they say that we are the party of violence. It's like, you guys literally incited 2 assassination attempts, and you take no responsibility whatsoever because you all denounced political violent speech and whatnot after the first attempt, in which you all went, or in which the media all went silent, by the way, after like a week after, not caring about any of the news that's been coming out about the previous attempt, like all sorts of insane news.
No, they called the first attempt. CNN first called it like Trump had a fall at his rally.
Oh yeah,
They've been ducking for a while, and and you know, like, here's my question to anybody who's still undecided, or who's like, man, I don't freaking like Trump. I understand not liking his personality. You know, he can be a little rough around the edges, but usually when you try to take somebody out, not once, not twice, or but multiple times, because they tried to throw him in jail, they tried to take him and basically take him off the ballot, make it so that he couldn't run. They're afraid of this guy, and he hasn't done any of the things that they said that he was going to do his first term. So, from an outsider's perspective, putting, all of how you feel about each of the candidates aside, just looking at things objectively, if they're trying this hard to get this guy not in office, what's he doing that's pissing off all the right people? He's pissing off all the corporations. He's pissing off the globalists. He's pissing off the people who are hurting this country and who are making policies that directly impact your wallet. So, I mean, it just kind of proves, it's kind of like what Tyrion Lannister said in Game of Thrones. Like, when you cut off a man's tongue, you don't prove that, like, what he said is incorrect. You actually prove what he said is was true. So the fact
Mhm.
that they're trying to kill him and take him out so much, it just kind of proves that like he's doing the right thing, that this guy's like on the right track, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I am just so sick and tired of all of this because it's not going to stop, folks. To be 100% honest with you, I do not think that it is going to stop. They're going to try again and again before November. They are going to try another attempt before November. Somebody is going to freaking go nuts and they are going to try to kill Trump. Now, the shooter has been identified. He has been caught alive. I don't know how long he will be alive because if it does turn out that because there are conspiracy theories going on right now that he may have been hired by somebody in the Democrat Party. Now, I am not saying that there's any validation or or that I'm agreeing with that stuff. However, I am simply going to say that that man had better be put in protective custody and made sure that he isn't killed so that actual answers can be had because, well, we all know that the other shooter, there's way too many unanswered
I
questions.
expect that to
Hey,
really happen though.
hey guys, I totally agree with the lamestream media has proven just how demonic they really are and hypocritical. Yes. But yeah, we are now going to move on to our next topic. It is a sadder one, so we're going from shock to sad now. James Earl Jones, as many of you know, have passed away over the last few days. And it's like, oh no, he didn't. I made sure when somebody sent me the thing, it's like, I'm looking this up right now. I am not trusting it. I don't trust it yet. Son of a gun, he's gone.
Mhm.
And folks, it's poignant to me because James Earl Jones was the first voice outside of my family as a non-family member whose voice I latched onto, whose voice I recognized, whose voice that I would react to that wasn't a family voice or a family member's voice. And when I was 2 years old, I watched the Star Wars trilogy, the OT, on my father's or in my father's living room on the TV with the VCR. The tape had all three movies. And I remembered that his voice was so unique. His voice was so, well, to how my 2-year-old mind identified it, evil. It was an evil voice. Now, as I grew older, I understood that his voice wasn't evil. It was just a character and whatnot. But I remember all of the emotions that I had. And I really do. I had to hold back tears when I did my tribute video.
Yeah.
I am going to miss this man. As for what are some favorite films that James Earl Jones was in, Sandlot is a good one. Obviously, Coming to America, the first one. Star Wars original trilogy and the prequels, specifically Episode 3 that he was in, where they brought him back. I mean, when I read the Dark Lord trilogy, this book, well, let me come on camera for a second. This book here that I have, folks. When Darth Vader in the suit speaks, I hear it in James Earl Jones' voice when I'm reading it. I have his voice in my head. And it hurt when he passed. But I do hope that he will rest in peace. That man has done so much for cinema, or he was also a theater actor. I mean,
Good one too.
Oh yeah. God rest this man, or God rest him. Thoughts from you guys? Kate, go ahead.
I watched The Lion King. I want to say between the ages of 3.5, and 5, like every day. And I freaking love James Earl Jones's voice. It's just kind of that calming father-like figure. And then when I got to high school and I was doing like thespian stuff, learned about his time in the theater. And I don't know, I just have there's like certain actors that you just have like respect for, not because of like who they are as a person, but because of like what they just contributed to cinema or to acting or whatever. And without, trying to tell people what to do, I think the best actors are the ones that just did a good job and stayed in their lane, and then, gave a lot to to their craft. And I think James Earl Jones is that. And I found myself looking for like audiobooks from James Earl Jones, after he passed. I was like, he's got to have done some podcasts, or I just want to like hear his voice more, So, rest in peace, dude. You'll be missed, and thanks for all you contributed to my childhood.
All of ours. Obviously he'll always be remembered for Vader and for Mufasa and for the king in Coming to America, as you mentioned, Orange. One role that a couple of roles that I really appreciated him in, they were ones that he's not necessarily known for, but I think should be. One is of Admiral Jim Greer from particularly the October, but also Patriot Games and Clear and Present Danger. And of course, as the villain Thulsa Doom in Conan the Barbarian. I loved him in those two movies. Absolutely. Granted, they are two completely different polar opposite characters, obviously. One's a admiral in the military. The other one is a warlord in it and a sorcerer. And it just shows his breadth of ability as an actor. He was almost like the, and I say this with no dispersion whatsoever, he was almost like the early version of Ian McKellen, who could play the hero and the villain and do both equally well. And am I sad to see him go? Yes. But Ma'am Ambassador, my wife, told me something the other day, and it does, at least for me and for her, and I imagine for everybody else who knew him, and is the fact that he was actually born, baptized, and live and raised Catholic. So the status of his soul, I imagine, is secure. And I take solace in that. I'm sure his family and his friends do so as well. So, and I'll say one more thing. Up until recently, I have never really had a great interest in watching the movie Field of Dreams, as somebody just commented about in the chat. Ma'am Ambassador encouraged me to watch the trailer, which I did, and I was like, you know what? I want to give this movie a chance now because of James Earl Jones. So at some point, we're gonna sit down and watch Field of Dreams.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be watching it too, because I honestly have not seen it. I've seen a little bit of it here and there, have not seen it in its entirety. So you're not alone there.
Maybe we should do a review.
I also haven't seen it. Should we all get together and review?
Next Sunday.
I was about to say the same thing. I think
next Sunday then. Next Sunday. So
Okay.
we will make it a Sunday night recap where we all talk or give our thoughts on it. It'll be a weekly recap of Field of Dreams and whatever else comes down the pipeline.
I like that idea.
So moving on, now this one's going to be a bit longer because it's an article that has a lot into it, folks. Over the last week, a new lawsuit against Disney has come down the pipe.
Yeah, this.
Peter Cushing's friend is suing Disney for his likeness. His friend.
Okay. Who's the name of the friend? Has it been released?
Yes. I will be giving it as soon as I find it.
That's okay. Sorry.
But yes. But yeah, they are suing Disney. And I got this article. Thank you and shout out to Leslie Headland. Or not Leslie Headland, but fuck, I'm gonna get butchered that one. Leslie Tarkin. Shout out to Leslie. Okay, good.
Sorry.
Leslie Tarkin for shout out to her, Leslie Tarkin, not Leslie Headland, Leslie Tarkin. For sending me this article. I'm not going to bring it up, folks, because my signal will get scrambled if I try bringing it up and sharing the screens. But it says that an in-depth look at Peter Cushing's likeness in Rogue One court case. A number of news reports has surfaced over the last few days pertaining to an original legal action against Lucasfilm and a number of co-defendants being sued over the use of Peter Cushing's likeness in the movie Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Whilst many presented this case as new, it's just actually been ongoing since 2019. And only just reached mainstream media when its latest round reached UK's High Court. As with many legal cases, not all reporting around the case has been fully accurate, so we will do our best to unravel the truth here. Now, the defendants, the case is being brought by Tyburn Film Productions Limited against 5 defendants. The first and second defendants, Joyce and Bernard Broughton, were the executors of Peter Cushing's estate and are alleged to have breached the 1993 agreement, more on that later, by consenting to Peter Cushing's resurrection in Rogue One without seeking Tyburn Film Productions' consent. Joyce had been Cushing's secretary since the 50s, and Bernard from the 70s, and an unofficial business advisor to Cushing. Cushing would often live with them following the death of his wife, Helen, during periods of illness. Bernard and Kevin Francis worked together on Cushing. This is Your Life Television Award. Both defendants have passed away since the case was first brought. The third defendant, Associated International Management, LLP, was Peter Cushing's and laterally his estate's theatrical agent, and it is alleged that they induced the estate's breach of contract. AIM, Associated International Management, or AIM, I'll just call them, not to be confused with Marvel, are one of the leading theatrical agents in the UK and a number of famous clients, including Brian Blessed, Boss Nass in The Phantom Menace. The fourth and fifth defendant, Lonic Heavy Industries, UK, Limited, and Lucasfilm Limited, LLC, limited liability company, for those of you who don't know, who stand accused of having unjustly enriched in respect of exploitation of rights which they did not hold, namely image rights to the digitally resurrected Peter Cushing. Lonic is the production name for the movie Rogue One, as first revealed by myself on the Jedi News site back in 2014. The article is talking, or the author of the article is saying the one revealed by myself thing. the sixth defendant was the Walt Disney Company, but they have since been removed from the case. Tyburn Film Productions Limited. Essentially, folks, they're saying that they did not have the permission needed to push this or to push the case. Now, people have tried to have this case thrown out. However, the UK court has said there is enough in this case to have it be heard. So, they are going to
Wait, can you reread that last part? Because it sounds like Disney's no longer a defendant in the case.
yeah, that's exactly right. Disney is no, or they have since been removed from the case. Now,
Okay, so Disney's not getting sued anymore.
Sadly, no, but members of Disney are. Lucasfilm.
So the
itself,
headline was a little misleading.
No, Lucasfilm Limited. Well, yes, Disney is no longer being sued, but however, Lucasfilm Limited is.
Lucasfilm is. Okay.
Yeah. Lucasfilm is a part of Disney, so it's technically not inaccurate.
Right. Yeah. It's just it was like if the liability's on Disney versus Luke, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, it's our subsidiary company. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But anyway, the central claim concerns the right to digitally resurrect and thus the right to block or restrict the resurrection of actor Peter Cushing by technological means. Tyburn Film Productions Limited, the claimant, alleges that the film or that the use by Lucasfilm of a digital resurrection of Peter Cushing in 2016's Rogue One breaches a contract made by Peter Cushing's production company, Peter Cushing Productions Limited, and Tyburn. Tyburn claims that it has had the sole right to use technological measures to resurrect Peter Cushing under an agreement made in 1993. The agreement was signed in relation to a TV movie that Tyburn was making with Cushing whilst Cushing was already in ill health with cancer. The TV movie was a heritage of horror. It was never completed. Peter Cushing passed away at Pilgrim's Hospice in Canterbury in August 1994. The 93 agreement contains a clause between Tyburn, Peter Cushing, and PCPL and Peter Cushing. If, as a result of illness, and it reads as the following. If, as a result of illness, Mr. Cushing's demise or any other reason without limitation whatsoever or however, the TVM, the TV movie, is not produced and or completed or exploited, PCPL and Mr. Cushing hereby warrant, undertake, and agree that neither of them will permit Mr. Cushing's participation in any film or program whereby Mr. Cushing appears in whole or in part other than in person, in or out of any character, by way of Mr. Cushing being reproduced by all or any combination of the processes or techniques referred to in subparagraphs 1 through 11 of paragraph E without our express prior written consent, which consent we may grant or withhold at our sole and absolute discretion. The processes and moving on with the article, the processes and techniques referred to include all special effects, computer-generated imagery, and any successors to those technologies. That's very thorough.
Yeah.
Thus, this would include AI-generated content, a technology developed post-1993 used in Rogue One. Tyburn therefore says that Peter Cushing could not be resurrected by the defendants in Rogue One without their consent. They say that the consent of the estate in the form of the first, sorry, it is a long-winded one, folks, of the film first and second defendants, the Broughtons, was not sufficient because of Tyburn's rights to block anyone else from resurrecting Peter Cushing without obtaining Tyburn's consent as a result of the 93 agreement. The claim against the estate for breach of contract, or they claim against the estate for breach of contract. The claim against the third defendant, who was Mr. Cushing, and subsequently the estate's theatrical agent, for inducement of breaching contract, yada, yada, yada. So the 1976 agreement. Jesus, there's so many agreements here. I mean, this thing goes in some serious depth, folks. The copyright-related rights regulations, 2016 agreement, case history, and verdict to date. It's just a whole freaking mess.
This dude thought ahead. Like,
oh, yeah, they definitely did.
Yeah.
Because they did, or apparently Peter Cushing was devout enough that he didn't feel that his life should be, or that his likeness should be reproduced.
he's like, nah, I'm gonna be there, and you're gonna pay me for that.
Yeah, it's like, or
Yeah.
and you know what? I think, or I'm hoping to hear the full results from this verdict, because whenever it happens, because they should be held to account for breaching a contract and not getting the right permissions needed. I mean, Peter Cushing is a very legendary actor. Yes.
I wonder if they'll strip his likeness off of like their Plus service and stuff, like or they'll just have to pay to.
Either that, or no, they would actually have to completely take down Star Wars Rogue One.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The one decent Star Wars movie that they've ever done.
Right, yeah, right. The only like watchable one.
The only one, that actually got any real good positive viewing, even from the diehard EU fans.
All right, well, let me go find it on DVD before it's stripped from everything.
But actually,
I've got it on Blu-ray. I'm good.
What I think will happen is that they will have to pay royalties to Tyburn.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not just talking small royalties. I'm talking about major royalties. Like
it's not going to make Disney any more money, or Lucasfilm, any more money to have it.
Yeah, considering it's been 8 years since Rogue One's release.
Yeah.
You're looking at a few $1 million plus.
I'm glad that things take just as long in British court as they take in American court. It makes me feel
I don't like British courts, to be completely honest, especially when it comes to certain topics or certain cases like allegations of a heinous variety. It seems that they actually, or that the accused has to prove that something didn't happen instead of the accuser. But
they don't have innocent until proven guilty. That's just here.
No, they do not.
Yeah, which sucks.
So, what are your guys' thoughts, or any final thoughts on this?
Man, you guys didn't double check. There wasn't somebody in a back room going, "Hey, actually, we need permission." Because as much as being a fan, I like seeing his likeness. If he didn't want that, I don't want to see his likeness in this movie. It's kind of like being a fan of somebody, and then the paparazzi gets all up in their faces to get photos and stuff. It's like, well, I don't want that, So I just don't,
Yeah.
Anyway.
The one thing I will say is this. I had thought that they had done more due diligence in making sure that they had all the proper permissions and releases to use his likeness for Rogue One. Obviously, they didn't. And am I going to fault the production team, per se? No, I'm going to fault the legal team at Lucasfilm and obviously at Disney as well, because they screwed the pooch on this one.
Yep.
I mean, as much as I loved seeing Peter Cushing in this movie, I think whoever is owed money, I don't know if he has a living family left or not. Whoever's entitled to some royalty should be getting it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought here. So yeah, I say damn torpedoes, full speed ahead, and nail the House of Mouse and nail the little Miss Kennedy and her posterior.
Get your
Both
bread.
barrels.
Yeah. Get your money. You know?
Go get paid.
Yep. Now, honestly, a lot of people have said, "Oh my god, the CGI sucks on Rogue One. It doesn't look very
Go
good."
bite your ass.
No. I'm just going by what a lot of people have said. It wasn't good. Me, honestly, personally, I thought that it was actually pretty damn good.
It was,
except for
good.
Leia. That was damn bad. I mean, I'm like,
Leia wasn't
not
bad.
buying that being Leia, or I'm not buying that being.
It worked. Hey, she was on the.
Worked
She
for the
was
half
on.
second that it was there, but yeah.
Yeah, precisely. So quit being so dang nitpicky.
Well, the smile just didn't seem right. Anyway, but
Well,
moving
your
on
smile
to
doesn't
our.
seem right either. So screw you.
Anyway, moving
You
on
got
to the
hideous
next
smile.
one.
It's a thing of
Next
children's
one.
nightmares. I'm done.
Next topic, and I'm going to ask that all three of us, when I play this, mute their mics so that it can play through evenly, is the Venom trailer or Venom 3 trailer, final trailer thoughts. So adding this to the screen now, folks, I'm going to let y'all know I do not own the rights, yada, yada, yada. Rights go to whoever the fuck owns the rights. Anyway. Let's widen this and make sure the volume's up. Yes, good. Everybody ready? Here we fucking go.
Captain speaking. If you look out to your left, you'll see a beautiful view of the Grand Canyon.
Told you we could fly!
Oh, they're so close, dude!
Jesus Christ! Where did this shit? Going to like this.
No, I can absolutely guarantee you I'm not gonna.
My home has found us.
Who sent that thing?
My creator.
Of course.
By accident. They were running.
From what? What's his name then?
No! We have something he needs. As long as Venom lives, everything will end.
Why'd you keep knocking people out? What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry! We've come a long way, you and me.
This world can't survive if you stay together.
Technical difficulties, folks. It seems so. I do apologize. But essentially, the reveal was Knull, the God King. And I did a video. I got concerns because we can get rid of this. I mean, there's no real reason to see the rest of it because there's. And because Kate decided to kick rocks. What the fuck? But anyway. Yeah, there. So I'm going to stop sharing and get rid of that. Hopefully I'll have a more stable signal now. But yes, the main reveal was Knull, the god, or the symbiote god.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know I think we all can agree, yes, that Venom, the Venom movies are comedy driven and whatnot.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
So
Definitely.
why would you
Yeah, they're
take
definitely silly.
why would you take a character who is anything but comical, who sliced the head off of a celestial and then went and used his head as a forge to create a sword known as the All Black? Now, by the way,
Because they don't
he
read the
sliced the
lore.
head
So
off
they
the
don't.
celestial before he had a sword. So,
Wow.
this dude is no fucking joke.
Yeah.
And they're bringing him into a movie that has a lot of ham-fisting humor. So, thoughts, shall we discuss? Starting with ladies first.
Yeah, I mean, they just don't know the lore. It goes to show they don't know the lore again. They haven't known the lore. They don't care. They're just like, oh, what's somebody that he fights. Pick that one. Kind of like they did with Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin.
Yeah.
They're like, what's Iron Man's person that he fights? Oh, the Mandarin. Okay, let's do that. So it just kind of felt like that. But they totally misunderstood the tone and what it meant and everything about it, etc., etc.
Ambassador.
Well, Grant, I don't know as much about Knull. I mean, I know the basics about him, and you telling me that he chopped the head off of a celestial and used it as a forge to make a sword, that's pretty dang hardcore. Because we always assume that celestials are extremely hard to kill. And the fact that this guy killed one without any sort of weaponry per se, yeah, that's pretty extreme.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the trailer goes, I mean, I saw Let There Be Carnage in theaters, and I by no means disliked it, but I really felt it needed a higher rating considering you had Carnage, one of the most vicious, bloodthirsty, violent, deranged characters
Murderers.
in the history of comic books, and it had a PG-13 rating. Now, did I enjoy the movie? Sure. And I've still not gotten around to watching the first Venom. I'm eventually going to. I might actually do so in preparation for this. Am I gonna probably go see this next month? There's a pretty good likelihood I will, yeah, because I know a lot of people give Tom Hardy a hard time for his role as A Brock / Venom, but honestly, I like him as the character. I think his performance is actually pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going for this because I like the character. I've liked the franchise thus far, at least the one movie I've seen of it. And I am intrigued by the idea of bringing Knull in. Now, the question is, are they going to be able to balance the comedic aspects of this movie alongside having such a hard-ass extreme villain? It's tricky, but it can be done. You just have to have a good writer and director and obviously a good cast and crew to pull it off. But it's rarely been done, but it can be.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a wait and see. But yeah, I'm not saying I'm not gonna not go see it. I definitely would want to. So.
Yeah. I checked the cast for Venom 3, and the actor that didn't have a name didn't have a character name under his picture was Rafe Ifans, who played the Lizard in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. So Sony is bringing Rafe Ifans to play two separate characters in their Sony universe, which is interesting. And I think that he could possibly be a really good Knull. I mean, this guy is, or Ralph Fiennes played the Lizard very well, and I think that he can play Dark rather well. But I share your concerns because that is one of the things that I said in my video. This is a comedy-driven movie. You are bringing in a person who literally had a comic run that where he won. He took over Earth with an army of symbiotes, including Celestials that had symbiotes covering them. So, yeah, everybody's like, oh, we might actually win this one. Yeah, think again. I'm bringing in my bigger army now. Come forth, Erisham and all you others. I mean, he dropped all the freaking Celestials on Earth, and they were covered in symbiotes. They had symbiotes of their own. So imagine a symbiote like Carnage, just freaking celestial size that could walk on the Earth. And it's like,
Well, now that they're not doing
You're
Eternals 2,
yeah.
or like, what's the lore then that they introduced from the first one going into
Well,
the
this isn't
Celestials?
MCU. This is Sony.
Oh,
Sony.
Sony.
So
yeah, true.
they aren't
okay.
going to have any of that back history with Knull.
That's true. That's true.
But it doesn't change the fact that this guy is a fucking monster. I mean, when everybody, I say monster, and you think like big scary under the bed thing. No, this is a human-shaped monster that I believe only Venom had the ability to stand up to, and Venom's original, or he actually upgraded himself, or, well, not upgraded, but remembered that he had certain powers like freaking wings now. Venom has wings in the comics. But also Eddie Brock, since this is the epic conclusion, as they say, I'm thinking that they might actually bring in Anti-Venom. That they're going to get it wrong, by the way. My prediction is that Anti-Venom will be brought into this, where Brock, now the comic version of Anti-Venom is his body literally, after he was separated from Venom so long, his body created a symbiote in itself, which responded to an invasion of symbiotes out there, in which he suddenly became literally a touch and kill for symbiotes. He put hands on these symbiotes, they died. That's Anti-Venom's power. He's a white and black symbiote that is much like Venom, but very different. So it's like, oh, fuck. So that's like the ultimate Eddie Brock version in the comics, where he becomes Anti-Venom. Because by that time, Flash had control of the Venom symbiote and became Agent Venom. But I'm thinking that they might actually do Anti-Venom in the movie. They're going to screw up the story to, make it work, even though it's going to piss off a lot of diehard fans. I'm going to see this movie. I liked Let There Be Carnage. However, I agree. You can't do these movies without an R rating. And I said, it's like, I'm hoping they release an R-rated version of Venom when Venom came out. And it's like, you guys have a major opportunity to create to do an R-rated version on your DVD Blu-ray release. Never happened. And then Carnage came along, and it's like, how are you doing this in PG-13 and there's no way this succeeds? Well, it didn't make as much money as the first one. And it had some really stupid shit in there. But now you also have Toxin in this one as well. So the guy at the end, the cop that was deaf, he's Toxin, another of Venom's kids, essentially. He is essentially more dangerous than Carnage, even, from what I understand. However, there are multiverse in Marvel in which Carnage is literally impossible to kill.
Yeah.
But Toxin is going to be in the next one, I think, and possibly even Scream, because she was supposed to be in the first one, but they screwed that up. And then Riot became the villain in the first one. And it's like, why are you bringing in some lowly piece of shit symbiote like Riot? Ugh. Not Riot Kitty, folks. Riot, the symbiote.
Mm-hmm.
Riot Kitty is an awesome YouTuber. But
we love her.
Yes, we do. Love to Riot. But Riot Kitty, that is. But yeah, there is just so much that can go wrong with this. I'm worried. I am very worried. And I will see it. We most likely, hopefully, we can all discuss it.
Like to.
Yeah. So hopefully Kate can be able to see it on opening weekend or whatever.
You know, to be honest, I have a different view than the both of you. I didn't like the first two. The first one, I can't even remember anything about the first one, except that I saw it. And the second one, I found the relationship between that girl and Woody Harrelson. I was like, this is so freaking annoying. I was just annoyed.
Cletus Cassidy doesn't have a love interest.
I was
He's
just
a psychopath.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
So
pissed me off.
I have zero interest in seeing the third one because the first two were just meh.
Well, then I guess you'll be muted on our talk on Sunday when we give our thoughts.
Totally
Yeah, I guess you will.
But yeah, those are my thoughts on the trailer. Any final thoughts, Ambassador?
I'm good.
Alrighty, moving on to our final topic for tonight. And I am not sharing this, or I am not sharing the thing. But this woman, there's the Tolkien family folk, or the Tolkien fandom. Yes, the Tolkien fandom has a parasite problem, as does the Star Wars fandom. There's approximately 80,000 parasites. Well, maybe not 80,000 of them, but there's a good number of those people who are parasitical in their fandom. But specifically to the Tolkien fandom, and I need to get onto my phone a little bit here so I can switch over to, there we go. Yeah, as I was getting ready to go live, folks, to get ready for the stream, I checked to see if all my bookmarks were in place. And it turns out that, well, the person, because I retweeted on my main account, OrangeHat2185, that I have a rant coming in about this. And I did a rather lengthy thing. Well, this person, Jesse Earl at Jesse Gender. Now, folks, do not get me wrong. I am not saying to go out and harass this person. I do not condone it. I do not want you to. If you do, and if I find out, I'm banning you from my channel. I don't want that sort of shit associated with my channel. But this person blocked my other account. Well, I have resources. Again, not going to say what they are. So I'm going to read some shit here. I'm forever torn between this David J. Bradley person tweeted out that, and she retweeted this, or quote tweeted this. I'm forever torn between we need to see more healthy, loving, platonic friendships between men and media, and damn, those hobbits gay as fuck. Well, she said these both can coexist. Frodo and Sam are a great representation of an emotional, vulnerable, platonic male friendship. They can also be gay lovers. There is no way to read them because they're fictional characters. You can read them either way. That's why art
Oh,
is
you
fucking
can.
cool. Let me finish. And she
Sorry,
goes
sorry.
into other freaking things, calling out critical drinker and shit. Yeah, she blocks people and won't even fucking give them the ability to defend their stance. Here's the thing, folks. I'm not gonna read her entire fucking thing because it's nothing but bullshit drivel. I'm just gonna say that this is why we need gatekeepers. This is why we need people to say, you are not a real fucking Tolkien fan. And you have no business being a part of Tolkien's legendarium. Because frankly, folks, enough is enough. I'm sick of it. You are all taking something that was written by a very devout Catholic, and you are twisting his fucking story to suit your, in his mind, sinful lifestyle. Tolkien was a devout Catholic in a time which gay relationships were a very sinful thing and lifestyle. And it still are.
The
Yes,
Bible
it
has changed on
still
that.
is by
Still is.
many
The
Catholics
Bible
and
has not
Christians.
changed on that. Yep.
Yeah, it still
The
is
Bible
by
has not
the.
changed in 3,000 years. It's still sinful.
Yes, it's
What
still
they-
sinful according to the Bible. Now, it may not be according to the fucking Catholic Church and the Vatican and the Pope, but it still is according to the church or to the Bible. And I hate to break it to you, folks. I'm going to drop some fucking facts on you. Miss Jessie Earl, who thinks that blocking my profile is enough to get me to not find you again or find you. Yeah. You're not a Tolkien fan. You are an activist pretending to be a Tolkien fan. You think that Sam and Frodo are gay lovers, which it has never been the case. So I am actually going to read from my own profile what I said. Let me just get to it here. Let's see here. Yes. I quote tweeted her and I said, wrong. First off, Tolkien was a devout Catholic in a time when gay relationships were a serious taboo. So this bunk about them being gay is literally just a wet dream of fans, or I should have put quotes around the fans, that only want it to be true because they can't identify with straight hetero characters. People who are trying to push this shit in Tolkien's legendarium are infuriating. The relationship between Sam and Frodo is akin to Tolkien himself and his friends who went to war and grew closer, but not in a romantic way. Folks, war friendships are bonds that are not intimate. However, they are as close as intimate, but separate from intimacy. Unfortunately, he lost his friends to war. This crap needs to stop. If people cannot identify with characters because they are not gay, that is a person's fault for living such a superficial living in such a superficial reality in which they are inherently a victim because society is not how they deem it should be. The real world doesn't care. Sam and Frodo are and always will be only platonic friends and had no romantic ties to each other ever. Take your attempts at trying to push that rhetoric and shove it up your ass. Lord of the Rings is a heterosexual mythology. LGBT does not exist in it at all. And that is not a bad thing. Mythologies and franchises can still be liked by the LGBTQ community, even if the characters don't align with their lifestyle. It is called identifying with the character's moral values and virtues, something the world's regressive society should really start doing again. And I stand by what I said, folks. If you can't start identifying with moral virtues and moral values and can only identify with a person simply because either sexual orientation or skin color, honestly, you have no value to society. And I'm not holding back anymore, folks. This is a welcome to both Weekly Recap and Orange Hat Uncensored. You have no fucking value to society if you are so limited in your retarded way of thinking that you can only identify with a person if they like to frickin' smack rods or bump uglies the way that you do. No. Sam and Frodo are friends who grew closer due to bonds of war or through the bonds of war. However, there was no romantic link between them. They were simply very caring for or with friendship, not romance. The only romances that existed in the movie or in the Legendarium of Tolkien were the ones that were overtly shown and the ones that were referenced to. Baron Luthien, Arwen, and Aragorn, Celeborn, Galadriel, and so on and so forth. All heterosexual relationships. There is no gay characters. There is no lesbianism. There is no such thing as a black fucking elf. There is no such thing as, or Tarmiriel, in Tolkien stories, her character was described as being as fair as silvers and pearls. Her skin was very pale. So what Rings of Power is doing is just pushing the diversity quota and stamping on their shit in a jar that is Rings of Power and saying it's part of Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, which it isn't. I will never watch that shit because I made a promise to the memory of J.R.R. Tolkien never to watch an entire episode of that show, and I have kept that promise. And by the way, their declining viewership has reached, according to media sources, acolyte levels. So yeah,
sorry.
You can, or Amazon is still planning to do their 5 seasons. You are going to lose money. You are not having a return on investment in this show. You had 1.8 million viewers in your first season. You have now 900,000 viewers. Less than a million.
I have less than that now.
Yeah, probably even less now.
We're planning on doing 5 seasons, so
yeah, you're planning
cool.
on literally driving people away from your company. Me, I think they deserve to have the Budweiser treatment. Folks, if you want to boycott Amazon Prime Video, and all them, that is your prerogative. Do it. Me, I only have Amazon Prime so that I can get faster delivery and shit. Because, well, I live very far away from the closest. I live like 100 miles away from the closest Amazon factory. So, yeah. And even then, some of the shit takes weeks to freaking arrive. But with Amazon Prime, it actually speeds it up a little bit. But yeah, these people who are saying, oh, we're super fans. And, oh, we love Rings of Power. You're not fucking Tolkien fans. I'm sorry. I am going to come out and say that. You are not Tolkien fans. If you think that Rings of Power has any sort of freaking connection to Tolkien, you are wrong. If you think that it is accurate Lord of the Rings lore, you are wrong. There's no way that Isildur was alive during the forging of the 3 rings or of the other rings afterward. So whoever freaking is writing this, oh, by the way, the showrunner saying, oh, we love the people who are hate watching the show. Yeah, because it's giving you views. Unless they're using, or unless they're adding the black flag to their way of doing it. But anyway, here's the thing. Because they
don't understand why. Go ahead. Sorry.
They or the people who are, or the showrunner basically said, yeah, it's not troll, or it's not Lord of the Rings without a few trolls. And it's like, keep up that shit, bub. Keep up that shit. Because you are eventually going to end up with 0 viewers of your shit show.
Yeah.
So yeah, fuck all of you parasites who are saying, oh, it can, or they can be gay. They're gay lovers. No, Sam had a fucking family after Frodo left left.
Oh,
And
Rosie. Hello.
Yeah. They had like, fuck, how many kids?
Like 9.
Yeah. You're telling me that a
crazy.
hobbit that likes to, or you're telling me that a gay guy is going to freaking go to a woman and have 9 kids with him? What the fuck is wrong with you? Grow up.
He sure as hell
Get
wasn't
help.
by.
Seek God.
That helps too.
So, yes, now I'm sorry for going on the rant, folks. I shall now cede it to the panel.
Good rant.
Hey,
The
Hey, would you like
reason
to go
why
first?
Peter Jackson's shit worked, and I say shit as in like stuff, I don't mean like his movies were shit.
Mhm.
The reason why it worked is because he liked the material, and even though Christopher Tolkien didn't like it, it reinvigorated a love for the books. I know a lot of people who started reading the books because they watched the movies and fell in love with the characters, and then they started reading the books, and then they got deep into the lore. That's why there is so much respect for those movies, because they loved the original source material so much that it made people who watched it go to the source material. I don't think anybody who's watching this, maybe people might be running to the source material to go, oh my god, I need a brain cleanse, but it's not for like love of the source material. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh my god, I need to get this out of my brain. Let me open up the Silmarillion real quick. But their viewership, like, it's just they're just trying to cope. And yes, I agree with Orange when he says we need to gatekeep. There are certain things, like, make your own thing. If you don't like that Tolkien's Catholic and there are no gay representation in his world and there are no black people in his world, go somewhere else. Get out of Middle Earth. Go somewhere else. Like, this isn't like, oh, this is an inclusive club. No, there's lore specific to Middle Earth and Arda and the world that Tolkien / Iluvatar created, and you can't just come in and make your own shit up like Melkor is trying to do. And no, you can't Melkor our shit. We're gonna gatekeep, pick which Valar you want to be ambassador, and we're just gonna go fight Melkor real quick. And the Melkor is all of these stupid stands or who are like, oh, let's ship all these people. No, just because you don't understand what a healthy relationship looks like doesn't mean you can taint everybody else's. All right? It's perfectly fine for a heterosexual man and a heterosexual man to cry in each other's arms at the moment of desperation when they think all is lost and the world's about to end. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing unmasculine about it. And way to ruin a beautiful moment between two people who are like, oh my god, we're about to die. Do you remember the taste of strawberries? And then tears. Like, there's no, like, and I feel like we've had this conversation for 20 years. People saw the movie and they're like, oh my god, Frodo kissed Sam on the forehead. They must be gay. Like, jeez,
for Pete's
Louise.
sakes. No.
Have you ever had a friendship where you're just close with somebody and you just
Yeah.
trust them and they
So,
trust
yeah,
you?
so do. Yeah.
Apparently not, because you have to make everything into your
Okay.
identity. Like, you have to make everything into your identity, and your identity is who you have sex with. Like, how shallow is that? How shallow of an identity is that? Get help,
Yeah.
get some friends, touch grass, grow a personality, and stop ruining Lord of the Rings.
My say on this, Tolkien wrote a folklore and a mythology and a legendarium for his countrymen and countrywomen, for the people of the island of Great Britain, and eventually for the world. Obviously, the world has evolved since 1917 and the Great War and all the trauma that he endured during that conflict. And the world has spun and spun and spun, and yet these stories still endure. The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Book of Lost Tales, and everything else that makes up this man's body of work. The Rings of Power have no place in this body of work. And those that are, and yes, I'm probably going to be meaner than my friend here.
Just
The
be
Lord of the
careful,
Ring.
please.
Hmm?
Just be careful, please.
I will do my best. Don't worry. I'm not going to, look, dude, I'm not going to drop any, like, racial epithets or any sexuality epithets. Nothing like that. No, I'm not going to do anything like that. The Rings of Power have no place in this legendarium, just like the fake fans that claim that they love the Lord of the Rings so much, and yet they settle for this drivel from Amazon. You are not a fan of Tolkien. You know nothing of his work. If you consider this tripe that Amazon is putting out comparable to the work of Professor John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, then you have issues. This is not the Silmarillion. This is not the Hobbit. This is not the Lord of the Rings. This is even comparable to the freaking appendices of the Lord of the Rings. This is bargain basement, poorly crafted fan fiction that other fan fiction writers, which I am happily one of, would laugh in your face and tell you to burn it for warmth. The writers for this show have the IQ of a flea. A flea! You know nothing of Tolkien or his work. You are subverting his work. If the man's family had any self-respect, the ones that are still alive, and actually, I would think would give a damn about their grandfather or great-grandfather's work, they would tell Amazon to go pound sand, to go kick rocks, to go jump off a cliff, and take this abominable production with them. This is an embarrassment to the Tolkien's legendarium in full. And yes, I say this. You are not a fan of Tolkien's work. You do not belong in this fandom, and you have no business consuming this media. If you consider the Rings of Power even comparable, then you need to seriously have an IQ test done. You need to get in touch with reality.
That made me laugh. That was funny.
Yep.
You need to get in touch with reality or get... No, I won't say that. I won't say that.
All right.
I won't say what I was about to say.
Seek God, essentially.
Even
If
on
you-
apart from the Tolkien like just ruining his shit. Apart from that, it's just a bad show
It is a
and
horrendously
poorly written
bad
CW
show.
level show.
Yeah.
From what I've read of like even critics who are like, well, you know, it's mostly positive, and then during the breakdown of in their review, it's like, oh, that sounds awful. It's poorly paced. You don't care about the characters. You find it frustrating watching it. Why is this a positive review? You know, because you'll read a lot of reviews like that, where they'll give it, you know, a thumbs up, and then you read their whole review, and it's like, well, I didn't like any of the characters, and I didn't like the pacing, and I thought the editing was shit. And you're
Yeah.
like, well, what did you like about it?
Now, I am going to transition just briefly to a topic that parallels this. To the fans of the Acolyte. You are fans of the Acolyte and the Acolyte alone. You are not fans of Star Wars. You are not fans of George Lucas's work. You are not fans of anything that is connected to this man's visionary mind. Now, yes, he was inspired and influenced by the work of Akira Kurosawa and the works of Joseph Campbell on the hero's journey. And he was influenced by so many things. But he created his own stinking universe. The Acolyte has nothing to do with Star Wars.
Yep.
It was a poorly crafted, poorly constructed fan fiction, and it was rejected by the fans like myself and Orange and Kate and millions upon hundreds of millions more. So to the fans of the Acolyte, I say this, just like I say it to the fans of the Rings of Power: get out of our fandom and don't come back. There's enough of us. We don't need you.
Well,
We
the thing
don't
is,
want
we
your
already proved that we are the greater in number anyway.
Yeah, but
But
we don't. Let me just finish this.
finish.
No disrespect, but let me finish.
Mhm.
We don't need your presence in our fandom. We quite frankly don't want your presence in our fandom. You are an embarrassment to our fandom on both accounts, for Tolkien and for Star Wars. Fans don't behave this way. We don't put out petitions. We don't go on change.org, and we sure as hell don't back poorly crafted, forgive me, Lord, shit like the Rings of Power or the Acolyte. It is tripe, it is garbage, and I will be glad for the day when it is forgotten. And with that, I yield the floor.
So my final thoughts on it, folks. Basically, when we say these things, I am going to basically add a little bit of context and clarification due to the fact that it is needed, because otherwise we would be taken out of context. When we say that you guys are not welcome here, it's because you have been shown that you have shown yourselves to be people who are only fans insofar as to want to change what is already established. And that isn't even the definition of a fan. A fan of something, or of a franchise and stuff, you love what has been created. You do not seek to change it simply because you can't identify with it. People who do that, you're not fans. And that is the people we are addressing. That is the people who are saying, or that we are saying, have no business in the fucking fandom. Now, if you like the Acolyte, fine. I'm not going to say that you are, or I'm not going to say you're not a fan. However, if you think that the Acolyte is Star Wars, or that you agree with the messaging from the Acolyte, I will question your fandom of being in Star Wars, as I will question anybody who thinks that gayness is it, or gayness in Tolkien's Legendarium is a thing. I will question you as a Tolkien fan. I will say right to your fucking face, if you think that LGBTQ things belong in Tolkien's Legendarium, you are not a Tolkien fan, because you are trying to change what is. What is the fact that Tolkien's Legendarium is completely heterosexual. It has no existence of LGBTQ stuff, because that stuff is in Tolkien's mind, or when he was alive.
Like, go make
time,
your own stuff. Go
sinful.
make your own gay fantasy series. Go do
Exactly.
that. No one's stopping you. Why do you have to come in and fuck with our shit? It's purposeful, it's deliberate, and frankly, I understand Ambassador's anger because it's deliberate and purposeful because it's every single freaking fandom. Doctor Who deliberately just skewered, massacred everything that gave it two hearts. See what I did there? Was torn and ripped to shreds. Star Wars, exactly. Anything that gave it heart, just ruined. Lord of the Rings, just freaking ruined. Well, I don't think it's like as ruined because nobody's freaking watching Rings of Power and everybody's telling everybody else how shitty it is. So you can't really ruin something when you're not like popular, you know, like when no one's watching your shit. But it's over and over and over again. Apparently, Trekkies, I'm not a Trekkie, but Trekkies have said that they've ruined Star Trek. You know, it's over and over and over again. So leave our shit alone. Go write your own gay fantasy series and sci-fi series and whatever else with all of your representation, and leave our stuff alone.
Yeah. Because honestly, folks, you're only pissing off people who have been fans of these things since they have been established, or since they existed and first saw it. Me, I first saw Star Wars since I was 2 years old. I first read Tolkien when I was 14 or 15. And these things I delved into. I really got in touch with. I sought to understand Tolkien through the movies. Thankfully, they have all those lovely documentaries in the appendices of the films. And you get to understand the mind of Tolkien. Then you also get to delve even further into his letters that he wrote to people. I mean, there are so many letters of Tolkien. And then there's also the unfinished stuff, or the unfinished works, the unfinished tales, all the stuff that Christopher Tolkien had to do and finish and publish and whatnot. And then the Tolkien estate, or then after Christopher died, the Tolkien estate basically gave Amazon free reign. And I'm sorry, I do not think that I don't even think anybody who was involved in the Rings of Power is a Tolkien fan. They they can cite Tolkien. They can say this and that about him. And they can try attacking us all they want. Just
like,
because
hey,
you have let me finish, please.
Sorry.
Just because you have a rudimentary knowledge of Tolkien's Legendarium and you have the rights to the appendices of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, which is where your shit comes from, and is still skewed and flawed, does not mean that you are a Tolkien fan. Because a Tolkien fan would tell you simply you have no business touching this stuff, especially if you think that you can, let me get on cam, tell the story that Tolkien never could. You are saying that you can do a better job than the greatest author of the 20th century. Nobody in the 21st century has come close to his work in quality. Sure, you got the Game of Thrones writer George R.R. Martin, who did a good yarn with his Song of Ice and Fire books. Sure, you got the Wheel of Time books. Sure, you got those other ones too, or other fantasy ones like the Sword of Truth series by Goodyear, Goodkind. Terry Goodkind. He did a good yarn there too. But nobody in quality is ever going to touch Tolkien's work. The only person who did a micro version of what he did was Karen Traviss when she was doing the Mandalorian stuff for the story group of Lucasfilm. Back when Disney and Filoni were not involved. Mm-hmm. She took the Mandalorians, gave them a language, gave them a history, gave them a lore, and gave them a society and species and whatnot. And then it all built from there. Yeah. So yes, Karen Traviss did a micro-sized version of what Tolkien did. Tolkien created a universe where Karen Travis only created one species, but did essentially the same thing that Tolkien did. It takes a very talented writer to do that. Nobody is ever going to be able to do what Tolkien did. They are going to draw inspiration from his work, in which even Star Wars was inspired by a little bit of Tolkien. And yet, nobody will ever be able to match what he did. This man rivaled the Bible in publication of his works. Second only to the Bible. And back during the 60s and 70s, there was the huge freaking Tolkien craze of Lord of the Rings. All the hippies fucking loved Tolkien more than they loved God. That's not a joke. I mean, you had freaking Gandalf pins during the Summer of Love, man. I wasn't alive during then, but they showed a lot of that stuff during the appendices of the Lord of the Rings.
Hell, they were spray painting Frodo lives in subways in New York City. That was in the appendices as well.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's great, and this has lasted so long. Like, people think that this started with the movies. Like, no. Elijah Wood got adopted into the fandom. Like, you know what I mean?
I did. I know I
Ian
did.
McKellen got adopted into the fandom. I got adopted into the fandom. And well, that was the beautiful thing about fandoms back in the day. You got introduced to it because, you know, your friend's older brother was like, "Hey, read this book," or, you know, "Hey, you know, whatever." And you would read the book and then go, "Oh my gosh," you know, and then they'd go, "What do you think?" And then you talk about it and they'd say, "Oh, wait till you hear about this," or wait till you read about what, you know, Gandalf does next, or, you know, wait. And then you were introduced to this world side by side with a fan. And that's how most, like, of the fandoms that I've been introduced to worked, is like somebody introduced me and then I got to walk alongside them and they loved it because I was being introduced to it and seeing it for the first time. So it gives them like that kind of like new person eyeballs again. And I liked it because I already had somebody there who knew what was going to happen, who could like guide me through being a fan of like, "Oh, hey, that episode kind of sucks. You can skip that one," or whatever, you know, or, "Hey, explain this lore to me," or whatnot. And nowadays, they shit on you for being a gate, like, "Oh, you can't gatekeep." Well, yes, we can, because the lore says this. You don't care about the lore, and you don't care about the writer, and then you want to gaslight the fandom for telling you that, "Hey, this isn't Tolkien's work," and, "Oh, how dare you tell us that?" You know, so it's become, you made it an us versus them. That's what you did.
They are the ones that actually did that.
I'll tell you, and I hope you go burn in the Thangorodrim.
Because here's the thing, folks. We are sick of having our fandoms infiltrated by these people.
Phonies?
And when I say these people, meaning all these people who are trying to inject identity politics into these narratives. No, that shit doesn't belong in these things. Everybody's like, there wasn't enough diversity and this or that. Lord of the Rings was too white. That it didn't age well. Fuck you, Screen Rant, for the whole 10 reasons why Lord of the Rings didn't age well. It's too fucking white. Fuck you. You're all allowed to have your opinions. But you know what? Guess what? We're all allowed to say, fuck your opinions. Your opinions mean less to us than Christ to an atheist. Because your opinions reveal that you are not a Tolkien fan. Your opinions reveal that you are not a Star Wars fan. Your opinions reveal that you are an infiltrator.
Right, and that response basically just tells us.
And I would call you.
Right. Well, and that response basically just tells us, like, "Oh, you just did this for the money. You thought you were gonna cash grab the fandom, and now that's it." Like, "Oh, well, 10 reasons why Tolkien's, you know, racist or whatever." Well, then why make a show about Tolkien? If Tolkien's racist, don't touch his shit. You know, I
It-
don't see you making a TV show about Mein Kampf. So if Tolkien's racist, why make a TV show about his stuff?
yeah. And not only that, when they did the Tolkien movie, a lot of people are like, oh, they did such a great job telling his story. No, they didn't. As good as that movie is, it was missing a very essential element of Tolkien's life. The fact that he was a devout Catholic. His religion was a part of his life. It was part of the inspiration behind the Lord of the Rings, the Silmarillion, the Hobbit. All of that came from his belief in God and the Bible. And yet they took out all of that simply to make a movie that, well, because it's Hollywood, they're a fucking bunch of Satanists. So they wouldn't want that shit to be really put in there because, well, we don't want to insult the this or that people. We don't want to insult the anti-religion people. Fuck them.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Fuck them.
And if you take you know, a flower or a plant out of its roots, it's gonna die. So you want to take Tolkien out of
Religion out of
Christianity and
Tolkien?
out of,
Yeah.
then the whole thing's gonna die. And so yeah, now you've got a morally ambiguous Galadriel being shipped with Sauron, and where's her husband? You know, and that's
Yeah.
what you've got in Rings of Power. And that's
mean,
what
you
I've
wanna know
gathered
what
off
I-
of Twitter. I'm just
Folks, you want to know what I have to say to that? This.
Shut your fucking mouth! Shut the fuck up, you cunt! Shut it!
Because you literally have no valid justification in any of your arguments when you believe that the Acolyte is great Star Wars. It isn't. It is Filoni Disney Star Wars, which is Star Wars in name only. And everybody's saying, you're disrespecting the legacy of Carrie Fisher. No, we are not. Disney did that by putting her in a situation in which 3 movies were made with her image that made her character less than it should have been. And also gave her a little bit or kind of cringy moments with the Mary Poppins bit. But it's not outside of the realm. But anyway, when it comes
right.
to
You have the
Tolkien,
opportunity to have Han, Luke, and Leia in a scene together.
yeah, you
and
missed
then
all those
you
opportunities.
and you missed it, and now you can't do it anymore because Carrie's dead. So, yeah, cool. Good job.
Because,
I'm
folks,
gonna do it.
my final thoughts are this. We are going to fight against you. We are going to gatekeep because we are sick and tired of you trying to infiltrate fandoms and trying to push a rhetoric. Because if anything that the acolyte numbers in that petition has shown, you are not the majority. We are not a vocal minority. We are the fucking vocal majority. We are the unsilent majority. As that lovely character, Burt Young, said in Rocky IV, I'm the unsilent majority, big mouth. Yeah, we are the unsilent majority. And we are, and we should take back our fucking fandom. Because these people have no business being in it. They have no business influencing it. You can have your twisted, disgusting sexual fantasies of 2-3 foot fucking beings dipping their sticks in each other all you want. Doesn't mean you're a Tolkien fan. Oh, but we like The Hobbit. We like Lord of the Rings. You can like them doesn't mean you're a fan. You can like them, but because you are trying to say, oh, they should be gay lovers, you're not a fan. A fan doesn't seek to change what is. They embrace what is. It is what is. It's natural. It's the flow of fucking life. You trying to change it, you're not a fan. You're an infiltrating parasite that deserves to be excised. Well, why can't it mean that? Because the original creator deemed it so. That's why. Tolkien has already said in many of his notes, many of his letters, all the questions that you have, well, why can't it be like this? Why can't it be like that? Read his fucking works and his notes and shit. He answers those questions. His life answers those questions. You have no business claiming that you are a fan of something that you are trying to change. Fans don't do that. And I know I'm repetitive here, folks. I get that. But I'm just making sure you all get the fucking point. To all those people, Miss Jenny Genders or whatever the fuck your name is, Jenny Earl, who thinks that you just merely by blocking my main account thinks that she can stop me from speaking my mind. Guess what? You failed. I did. Cope. I was going to say something a little bit less civil, but I decided not to. Because I don't want to get kicked off. But the main point is, folks,
say it after.
I'm not holding back anymore when it comes to these things. You want to see the kind of uncensored orange hat who has been holding back a lot of his freaking opinions for quite a long time? Well, you fucking got it, because I'm sick and tired of this shit. I'm sick and tired of a lot of things. But when you start messing with things like Tolkien's work that should be treasured and protected as if it was baby Christ in the manger.
Amen.
That shit, now, I am not going to blaspheme and say that that work is as important as that. However, it should be very much protected because these people are doing their best to try to ruin it for everyone else. We want to see Tolkien's work up on the screen. We haven't seen it since the early 2000s. Because
not if it's going to look like this. I prefer not to. If it's going to look like this, and nowadays with the way that Hollywood is, the reason that Hollywood can't make Tolkien is because they can't do it right. They can't acknowledge that God exists and sin entered the world and we are broken and fallen people because of that. And those are the standards and the things that Tolkien lived on, that we can be redeemed through a savior, and only through the savior given by our creator. But because those foundational things that Hollywood can't even just remotely acknowledge and say this is a thing and nod to, because it makes them like cower and shrivel up like little demons, like, you know, whoever it was, I forget who commented earlier. They can't do Tolkien. So no, absolutely not. Don't fucking touch Tolkien ever again, because everybody is going to ruin it. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they were able to do it. They can't do it anymore because their souls are gone. It's like Faustus trying to like write a good prayer when he's running from God at the end of his life. Like, no.
Hell, I doubt their ability to even do the Chronicles of Narnia at this point.
They're trying that on Netflix. But here's the thing, folks.
Exactly. No, they can't. They're not going to be able to do it.
Here's the thing. If you make black or brown characters in shows and whatnot, if you do the whole race swapping and whatnot, most people won't give two shits if it doesn't have an agenda behind it. Like Nick Fury, like Heimdall, like Ancient One from Doctor Strange. Nobody had a problem with those. Ask yourselves why.
Because the characters were good.
Because the characters not only were good, they weren't pushing something like, oh, I'm an oppressed person. Well, Fury tried pushing that shit later on in life. or later on in Marvel after Phase 4 or during Phase 4. I believe he did start pushing that shit. But but during the Infinity Saga, he didn't.
Yeah.
He told the story about his grandfather, but that was a product of the times. But here's the thing, folks. Lord of the Rings is timeless. It's a classic, and it was written by somebody who had a very specific lifestyle. And he wrote a mythology that he wanted himself to read. And that's all he did. He didn't care if anybody else liked it. He didn't care if anybody else, or honestly, he didn't care much about the fandom. That's the kind of person that Tolkien was. He did not really care one bit about us. And you know what? That's okay.
But you know what? He at least said to the fandom, I am glad that you like this. It makes it encourages me and makes me believe that people still thirst for something like this. So thank you for that.
Yes. He acknowledged us, sure. But he didn't.
There was that healthy boundary between artist and consumer of product, or lover of art, where he didn't care about our opinion and it didn't affect the way he wrote it. But he acknowledged us and said, "Thanks. I just wrote something that I wanted to read, and I'm glad that you wanted to read it too."
And that's as far as it was. When it came to movies and other things, when it came to movies and whatnot, he didn't care about that. He sold the rights for $1 because he knew something very important. Nobody would ever be able to adapt his work faithfully, because it can't be adapted faithfully to the medium of cinema. As my friend Mara Jade Shadow, who I'm going on her channel Wednesday, folks, 8:30 p.m. to discuss X1. She basically said some mediums or some entertainment cannot be faithfully adapted medium-wise, or from one medium to another. And she's right. Tolkien's can never be adapted. And he basically did that as a joke because he knew it couldn't be done. He's like, let him do it. Give me $1. That's it. Because he knew he wouldn't be able to do it.
That's the real reason why he put Tom Bombadil in. Try to put this in your movie.
No. Because here's the thing. If they put Tom Bombadil in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, you completely destroy the ring's you completely destroy the ring's power.
Exactly.
Because he's like, oh, or I'll use this one ring. He's like, oh, well, let me take off this one too. He's like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, here you go. That was Tom Bombadil essentially in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is cool. Here, you can have it.
Right, and then Frodo puts it on, and he's like, take that off, my boy. I can still see you. And Frodo's like, oh, shit.
like, take that off. Not wise. I can still see you, by the way. But yeah, it was just so, oh my God, I got to read this again. I might do that. But it's just, folks, you've pushed us to the point where we've had enough.
Yeah.
And you've pushed us to the point where we're not going to hold back anymore. Me, I'm going to clarify my points. I am going to make sure that you understand why I feel the way I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's important. Unfortunately, too many of these people who are saying that they're fans who aren't real fans are too fucking dense to understand why. Unless you actually point it out. Oh, you're nothing but a racist. No, I'm not, motherfucker. And sit down. It's time for a fucking lecture.
Welcome to
and I gave that lecture into this stream. And he went on to an hour and 45. And much of it was this. But yeah, folks, that is going to be the stream. Next or tomorrow is Monday Night Rants. I might go into more of this for the rants.
Oh,
because honestly,
oh boy,
more needs to be said. and that's going to be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Tuesday, I'm going to be doing my Godzilla Kaiju profile with different kaijus of Godzilla, as well as Godzilla himself. And that's for the theme stream. Then, hopefully, if my internet doesn't fucking conk out like it did Tuesday, Barroom Podcast, I'll be back there. Hopefully, it'll work. Because I don't know what the hell happened. I really wanted to debate Jacob on Beetlejuice. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, folks, and I am sorry for that. But yeah, that's going to be happening at 9 p.m. Tuesday night. Wednesday is Ones and Twos with Mara. With I believe, yeah, we're in the latter half of April, or we're in the latter half of September.
Wait,
So
what?
I was not born in April. I was born in September. Get your months right.
We're in the latter half of September. So, yes, Ones and Twos are happening on Jade Shadow's channel, 8:30 p.m. Singles, Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. My channel exclusive, or not my channel, but my X profile at Orange Hat 2185. We're going to be discussing this Thursday the Wolverine Unleashed version, the unrated. And then the week after that is going to be Logan, the Old Man Logan movie. So, yeah. And Friday nights are Orange Hat Uncensored. And Saturday is my day of rest. So, yeah. Prayers to Donald Trump. I'm glad he's safe. I hope they get some answers about who this motherfucker is. Apparently, he is a left-wing nut from what I'm seeing on X as more comes out about this man. I'm not going to mention his name. I do not believe in mentioning the names of people like that because I will not give them any sort of promotion. And next week, we will be talking Field of Dreams as well as other topics that come along. So, yeah, thank you all who came along and watched, all 21 of you, the 16 on X and the 5 in YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. Vanya, Tony Montana, Geek Archivist Pierce. Guy Pierce, you wish you were that good. But, yeah. And anybody else who was watching, thank you all so much. Ambassador, is there anything you want to discuss or plug before we go?
Got my next installment of the Tarantino podcast. We'll be doing a discussion on the Inglourious Bastards. That should be uploaded before month's end, so keep your eyes out for that. I've finally gotten back to my subscriber count before I went on hiatus last year. I'm up to 516 subscribers, so to everybody that has resubscribed or new subscribers, I thank you all. And let's see if I can get to 530 or 550 before the end of the year. 600 would be great. I would love to hit 600 before the end of the year, but also for 530 or 550 before the end of the year. So,
yeah, good
goals. As always, thank you for letting me be here. I love these. These have become a lot of fun. So I appreciate being here every week.
Yep. And me, I'm trying to reach 2,000 folks by the end of the year. I'm very ambitious.
Let's get this guy going.
Yeah, so let's fucking go. Let's fucking go.
LFG.
Let's fucking go. I mean, it doesn't take any more than like 3 seconds of your time, folks. YouTube, Orange Hat, click the subscribe button, click the bell. There you go. 3 seconds of your life. And it doesn't cost anything. I'm not making any money on it. So I just wanted to let you all know that I'm not making money off of this. My purpose is simply to inform and entertain. Because why not? See, entertain. But if I do get to 2025 by the year 2025, before 2025, I will do something special for the channel. Not going to reveal what it is, but I am going to do something special. And look forward to some better look forward to some October shorts with a very familiar mask. So
Ooh.
yeah, I got some more Michael Myers mask shorts coming.
Nice. I love those.
So y'all have a wonderful night. Kate, thank you so much for joining. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining. Y'all have a wonderful day. And always remember to stay humble. Peace.
Are you done? Are you done?